Welcome to the Women in Telecoms podcast, a series created by members of the Women in Telecoms group, dedicated to empowering women across the industry, sharing real experiences and driving meaningful change. Today we're talking about workplace culture and the very real gender barriers that still exist. We'll be exploring how to break them down, fostering allyship, and creating spaces where both women and men can thrive together. My name's Natalie. I am co-chair of the Women in Telecoms group, and I would like to let the other members introduce themselves.
So I'm Rachel Keats. I'm the Operations Director at Zoom Talk, and I've been there 11 years.
And I'm Anne-Marie Mackay. I'm one of the directors at FlexiNet, and I've been in the industry for 6 years.
I'm Victoria Edwards. I work for RPS Telecom. I'm the Key Account Manager and have been with them for 7 years.
Fabulous. So first question to start with then is, what are the invisible barriers that you still feel are present within the industry?
So it's definitely gender stereotyping. So the misconception that women don't understand tech as well as men. I think that's kind of the biggest one out there. And I don't think it's just within the industry. I think it's obviously a public view as well. You know, if a woman engineer turns up to an install to site, they often get the look of, well, does she know what she's up to? Does she know what she's doing? So for me, I think that's one of the biggest barriers that's still out there.
Yeah, and I think I second that. I think when you're maybe in a technical sales role and you're out perhaps demoing with a male colleague, technical questions will be directed towards the man, even if the female in that environment has quoted the job, had scoped the whole project. You almost feel the chair turn towards the man to ask a technical question, which, you know, that's still prevalent, I think, in the industry.
That's interesting, because I was speaking earlier on with a younger group, and they were saying that they felt that way. And I pushed them and I said, do you think that's actually an age thing? Is it actually gendered? Does it come with, just experience and knowing that you're credible and feeling comfy about what you're talking about? And actually, it's interesting to hear us all feeling the same. So it does feel maybe that it is universal and it is gendered.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily like a thought out thing. I think it's very much an unconscious thing that people do in that situation. And I think that comes from, growing up as young girls, we're not promoted the idea that women are going to be engineers. We're promoted that women are caregivers. We're looking at the stereotypes of, this is a female nurse, this is a male engineer climbing a cable pole. It's not quite the same. So I think that sort of carries on unconsciously into the workplace as time goes by, and I think we can do a lot to challenge that, but a lot of it is unconscious.
I think it also stems into the workplace in the sense that I think still a lot of things like the networking events are still focused around male-led, inverted commas for the listeners, activities such as still going to golf, still going to sporting events. And it's been really nice recently, I think, definitely over the last 5 years, seeing a push in things, probably, again, our culture being more booze-led, but, vineyard tours, drink, kind of different things like that. But I still think there are those kind of small things that could be easily tweaked, like networking, to make it more accessible and to kind of break down those barriers.
I agree. And I think the thing with it is that sort of leads into who's being promoted within organizations and who's being given training. So if you are you've got additional visibility as a man because you've been invited to a golf day, or you've been invited to boys' drinks after work, you've got a different level of visibility to being a woman in the workplace, and perhaps then decisions are being made away from the site, really, about who's familiar in the workplace, rather than looking at who perhaps has the most potential, be that a man or a woman. You're looking at who's familiar and who's in your social network, not just your professional network, when you're looking at who's going to be given opportunities to go into further development in their telecoms career as well. So I think that it spreads on, that the golf day thing, definitely.
And then it gives you that sort of the lack of role models to women to inspire the younger generation coming in then. So you don't have that talent pool that you should have then coming up. So we're just seeing the same barriers over and over again throughout sort of the generations, you know. When you look at the statistics of it, you know, 67% of men are over 35 in the industry. You don't have the women pool there that is going to gradually bring that talent up. So those barriers is going to still be prevalent in 20 years' time. We're still going to be having exactly the same conversations unless we start sort of breaking those barriers down.
Yeah, and I think some of that might be because of the way we performance manage people in relation to, you know, you might be looking at someone who does sales within a telecom setting, and you might be measuring them based on typical male dominated traits. So you know, aggressive sales tactics, or being available 24/7, which, you know, that might not fit for you as a woman with your additional responsibilities at home or with children. So are we measuring people, you know, as a senior leadership team to say, okay, are we measuring everyone you know, for equity, but between the genders, rather than just going, okay, well, who's going to be able to work 60 hours a week on this, and make an assumption that a woman,
Or who can drive to the
yeah,
data center at 2 a.m. in the morning.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly that, yeah.
But do we find then actually another barrier then would be sort of the parental policies where you can have flexible hours because you're a woman, you've got childcare needs, you can just do a part-time job, whereas the men don't have that opportunity, which then creates the barrier on the other side where if they gave so I know a couple of people that are both you know, husband and wife are both in the telecoms industry, but it's her that gets the parental leave, it's her that gets the flexi hours. He doesn't get that, he's not allowed to do that, so then they can't share it, which means then she doesn't have the same opportunity to work those 60 hours even if she wanted to, you know.
Yeah,
That goes back, I think, on companies, doesn't it, and what your culture is and what your policies look like. I mean, sad to say our technical team is all male. They're brilliant, but they are all men. But they do actually make use of our flexi working policy. They all do the school runs because we've implemented these policies for all. I mean, ideally we wanted to introduce them to encourage women to our workplace. We're still only 25%, but actually it turns out that the tech team are making most of it anyway, so, you know, win-win for everybody. But hopefully those kind of barriers about trying to make it a bit more flexible for everybody, and again, those measuring sticks might start to come down when we start thinking about what is our culture, is it inclusive for everybody, not just for women.
I agree, and I think talking to male colleagues and male friends in and outside of the industry, flexibility is really important for them as well. It's not just a case of going, okay, I want my wife partner and to be able to have that flexibility to go and do the school run or go to an assembly. The men I talk to want that as well. They want to feel that that's not going to impact their careers, and that they have that time to support their family and be present in lives at home as well. So that's important. And I think, like you're saying, you've got policies in place and people are sort of taking you up on that. So that's key. But it's just a case, I think, of making it attractive to women in terms of seeing it as a long-term career, not just this is a company that's going to give me a part-time job. It's seeing that you're going to be acknowledged and recognised and pushed forward to develop you know, within your sector, and not think, okay, well, I'll work in telecoms because this company is going to give me a 9 till 2 contract. It's more about being able to display that, you know, you've got that development potential and you're being recognised, and there are people in the business that want to push you forward as well.
I think that comment you make about presence as well is really interesting, because I think over the years we've just sort of thought, well, we're moms, so moms say naturally, moms stay at home, moms do this, moms do that, but that doesn't mean dads don't want to. It's like my husband is all in with our kids, and he does a lot of the picking up and things because I'm here, there, and everywhere like you are. But he wanted to be a dad. He wanted to be involved. He didn't have kids to go to work. He had kids because he wanted to be all in as well. And he wants to come to sports days and he wants to go to plays. And he's lucky that his job is flexible. But like you've been saying, there's people there that they want to be present for their kids, but they're not allowed.
Yeah.
So we've sort of been put into that role, and I know we want to. I want to be present for my kids, of course I do. But it is part of the barrier the other side, that they're not being given the opportunity to support their partners
I
or their
feel
families.
yeah.
And so you've mentioned about, look how the uptake on that has come from you
Us
thinking,
trying to be
okay,
accessible.
let's be accessible to get women in
Yeah.
the industry, but hold on a minute, all the men want it as
Where have they
well.
all gone?
Yeah, but it's important to
Yeah.
everybody. And that sort of vein of that, we're trying to fix the problem our side, but a lot of the problems fall their side. If we fix those, it sort of naturally fixes
Yeah.
the problems that we're facing. And it's nice to hear, and for sure you can probably talk about it a bit more, that women's careers don't stop when they have children. They might take a pause, and that's fine. They might not want to come back to work. That's also fine. But giving them the opportunity from part-time upwards and offering that flexibility, people can have careers.
Yeah.
They don't. It's not just a part-time job. You can still have a career and do both.
This is where like the sort of the re-education comes in. So
Mm.
I did a lot of research before I came here, and one of the biggest things that I took out of that of the solution is the reverse mentoring. So a lot of, obviously, as we've talked about, a lot of the higher end positions in the industry are males over 35. They have got sort of their inbuilt culture from when they were little. Actually, if we start doing this, a junior lady comes in, you know, of whatever age, of whatever stature, with being a parent or not being a parent, but sitting down and having those real life conversations with the C-suite, then re-educates them to understand what women need to be successful, or what everybody needs to be successful. I know that you spoke about a guy that came up to you, I think at Connected North, about asking about the menopause, and how does he then support these people. There isn't the education out there for unless they go seeking it. So I think making
Seeking is part of the problem.
but I think making that information readily available and encouraging people to be having those reverse mentoring and sort of making it cool, I suppose, for them to do this. I think we'll start to see a revelation within the industry.
Yeah. I think that really comes into the whole thing around allyship as well. So how much are we educating, you know, everyone in the workplace around, you know, issues like menopause and you know, return to work after mat leave, and being supportive, and not just doing these keeping in touch days and saying, okay, well, six days over your mat leave, come in and say hello.
Just to tick a box.
It's a tick box exercise. But how much are we really getting men involved in the conversation in a non-defensive way, and saying, okay, you know, and educating people around what women need in the workplace as well, to make it a good environment for all, because the women aren't the problem, and the workplace originally it's been created for men, so it's just a case of making it, you know, a good environment for all, where we can all thrive and we can all feel like we've got equal opportunity.
As women, I believe we go through a lot more change in our working lives. So regardless of whether we have children or not, we still go through a lot more changes than men do in their career paths. I think that, and the bit that I see from the male side is that, how do they approach us? So how do they come if they're 30 years your senior and say, right, okay, so you're having a baby, how do you want to come back to work? How are you feeling about that? Without sounding like they're being condescending almost, how do they have a conversation with you when you're probably in a really vulnerable place, and not come across that they're not being supportive? And that's part of, I think, the challenge to it as well, is that there's almost a fear associated with talking about a taboo subject, and things like pregnancy loss and menopause, because they don't want to say something wrong, so they don't say anything. So how do they get past that?
Well, I was talking to one of my friends who's a CEO at a cybersecurity company, and they are starting to talk about starting families and, you know, whatever your journey looks like with fertility and getting pregnant and coming back to work, and planning it in like you would a sabbatical or retirement. And I thought, that's genius.
yes.
Why are we not all doing that? Like
Yeah.
sitting down and having a chat with young people and saying, look, it might not be for you, that's absolutely fine, but is this on the cards for you in
Yeah.
the next couple of years? Let's put it in your career path. Let's actually plan it sensibly. Also great for a business to know when people are going to be off, to be able to forward plan. And I just thought we should just all be doing that. And especially if you're going through things medically or menopause, whatever it is, to be able to kind of factor those into your career path, to be like, okay, well, I might not be at my strongest here, and therefore I might want to go to reduced hours or flexible working or whatever it is, and actually like schedule these things in properly, like you would a secondment, like I say, like you would anything else.
Yeah, because at the time that at the time you're vulnerable, if you're supported properly, those are the people that stay with you forever.
Yeah.
Like those are the people that want to stay with a company because they feel valued no matter how they are. And if they show up 3 days a week and do 3 days for 4 years, whatever, and then they want to go back full time, that person lives those values, and that has to come from top down. Like that culture has to come from the top. And ticking the box, like you said earlier, the kit days, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough to say, well, you can come and do your kit days, and well, we've ticked that box, so come back to work. If you deal with that the right way, and I'm not sure there is a right way indefinitely because everybody's so different.
Yeah.
But if you deal with that in the right way and offer the support, people appreciate that level of security really and support off it. So one of my other things is when we come back to that question of allyship, we've talked about the ones that want to try, and there are many that want to try. Do we have a lot that don't want to?
I don't think it's a case of not wanting to. I just don't think that they see the value in it at the moment, you know. I don't think there's been enough sort of case studies for them to go, actually, this is going to work. It's like some of the statistics that I found when I was doing my research is like, your company is going to financially benefit if you have a more diverse, and I know we're not talking about diversity, but if you have more women on your board or more diverse people on your board, you're going to be 25% at least financially better off. But I don't think that, you know, the C-suites and the men up there are actually seeing the benefit of this at the moment. I don't think there's enough sort of information out there for them to appreciate the value in having that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the thing is as well, it's just about that visibility piece, and are women getting the opportunity to be visible in that way? And it's such an interesting topic from a C-suite perspective around how many women are going to get into those positions. And I don't know.
It's that challenge of the right person for the job, isn't it? We go back to tick boxing. So there's plenty of policies out there that say, well, we want to have a diverse workforce by 2027 and we're going to hit this marker. But you've got to still hire the right person for the job. And if a woman's brought onto the board because it ticks a box, the value is just completely gone. So those people in those C-suites, they're not seeing any value to them because all they've seen is this token object on the side. Like, you're in a role because you deserve to be there. Like, you're in charge of a company because you deserve to be there, not because someone decided that they wanted to be diverse. And the benefits come from it. But again, top down have got to, it's all about value, isn't it? If the top don't value it, the rest of the business don't value it.
I think a lot of it comes down to confidence with females, and knowing that you've got a voice and you can use it, and you've got influence every time you're in a meeting, every time you're working with your team. You've got that influence to say, okay, well, I'm going to push myself forwards and have that voice to go, okay, this is a problem-solving industry. Women are just as capable as men at solving problems, and it's about communication. So all of the skill set that women have and are deserving of those roles is there, and it's just a case of women putting themselves forward more. I think there's a study done around women pushing themselves forward into applying for different roles, and it's noted that women will only really apply for a role when they feel that they've got 100% of the experience and skills that are requested on the job spec, right? Whereas with men, it's 60%.
Yeah, I've read this.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it's like,
Interesting.
you know, and
The
it's about
confidence
having
between
confidence.
that 40%
Yeah.
is those roles are there, but
Yeah.
we don't push for them.
And I think there is an element of that. There's a little bit probably of women maybe holding themselves back and not going, okay, I'm gonna risk that rejection, or I'm you know, and just applying for it anyway. And there's probably not enough mentorship, like you were saying, that reverse mentorship of saying, okay, you know, what's it going to take for me to get to the next level, and be that a male or a female leader that's reverse mentoring. It's so important. But are you going to apply for that job anyway if you feel that you're perhaps not 100% qualified? You might be 95% qualified, and you might just go, okay, maybe that's not for me right now. And why is that? Is that because the policies don't support you with all the other invisible load that we have as women, as parents, as caregivers outside of the workplace? So yeah, I don't know, some of it's confidence, I think.
I do think then we don't have enough confident women in the industry that are going, actually, you can go for this, no matter who you are, no matter your background, no matter your education, go for it. You know, there's
I don't think there's encouragement. I think there needs to be more encouragement, and not just women bringing women up, but men bringing women up and saying, you know, you've got this, you can do this, you know, or come and learn if it's a technical role, because the capability is there, but I don't, maybe it's
we
just
need that extra little.
we're not given that whole
yeah,
voice
and
of going, come
I
on.
mean, we talked a bit earlier about that sort of that support network, didn't we? And I mentioned that I've been really lucky that I've had that, and from men. I've been really fortunate that I came into the business with people that saw far more in me than I saw in myself, and then all these years later, I'm then that person for everybody else.
Yeah.
But I've always had that, but I wouldn't have pushed myself if they hadn't have pushed me. And it's things like this with the group. We all push each other because we don't push ourselves enough. But if I went to you, well, I really think you could do that, and you went for it, that would be the difference. So it's really about that support network of people, whether it's male or female. It's going to mainly be men now, because they're all the ones that are at the top of the jobs. But having that environment where you've got someone really championing you when you don't champion you is the difference.
I agree. I think it's that's the catalyst, and I think we're all built like that we need that positive reinforcement to say, you know, go for it. I remember in my very early career, I was 19 years old, I'd left college, and I decided I wasn't going to go to university, and I was going to take on a role for an insurance company at the time. And a role came up as a manager in their accounts department, and I applied for the role thinking, you know, it's a long shot if I get that job. And the leaders within that business saw something in me, and I got the job out of people that had been there a lot longer than I had in managing this team. And you know, I walked away feeling like super motivated and fortunate that through that interview process, these two amazing women had seen something in me to give me that boost and start off my management career back when I was so young. And I think sometimes it's just being given an opportunity and being given you know, having really positive role models, and still to this day we keep in touch.
That's really nice.
And it's brilliant, you know, because I still see my manager back then as being someone who really changed my perception of myself and what I was capable of and what I could do and achieve. So, and that's really come from someone being a cheerleader, being a promoter, and saying, okay, you know, I can see that you can do this job. And that's so important.
Absolutely have to agree. I mean, I was 32. I had two small twins, and I wasn't looking for a career. I was just looking for a job. And you know, I walked through the door, and because you had that sort of motivation, that ambition, that inspiration, actually it grew my my career in telecoms then, which was never an industry I thought I'd ever be in. And now I see other women that are sort of like, oh, shall I? It's like, I really want to encourage them then, not just to make the statistics look better, but actually there's so much talent out there as women. But I think because they don't have the confidence, they sort of just give up quite early, or they've had one bad experience and they're like, no, actually, this is not for me. So yeah, I think having those role models and those inspirations, whether they be men or women, so long as you've got somebody behind you championing you, you can sort of go far.
It's when you look back, isn't it, and see, I was them.
Yeah,
That was
that's so true.
me. That was me. That was, and now I'm doing that for them.
Yeah.
So in your views then, I suppose, because you're all in, well, we're all in the same industry, obviously, but all in very different businesses. What defines an inclusive workplace for you? If you think about where you are and the industry as a whole, what is the dream? What do we see?
Everybody having a very valid voice and a place at the table, regardless of their background, their age, everything. Making sure that, even the people in the most junior roles have influence. They can shape their career, they can shape processes, whatever it is, but just making sure that they know that they are seriously valued and seriously have impact over their, can control your own destiny almost. I think as well, when you work in a small organisation, the path isn't always trodden for you. So it can be quite difficult, I think, for young people, especially, to kind of be like, okay, what is even available to me? And kind of, like you say, that having that ally and kind of trying to help steer them, but recognise their kind of strengths. And I think about being really supportive and just really kind of open. And I know everyone talks about having an open door policy, but I truly mean having an open door policy, like really getting feedback, making positive change and continually reviewing it and moving with the times as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need to stop trying to make it all equal and look at the equity in it and giving everybody what they need individually to succeed, rather than trying to make everybody equal across the board would really, really help to give that inclusive workplace culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just about supporting men as well, just as much as women, and bringing in more training and education around all of the milestones that we face in life's journey, and that's for both men and women, but just around being supportive humans, not just supportive colleagues, and giving each other a lift.
Well, we spend more time together than we do with most other people, so it's important that we have that nurturing environment in work. It's really crucial. And I think Vic mentioned earlier, the gentleman that approached me at one of the conferences was just like, I need advice on menopause. I don't know how to deal with this. I was just like, I'm 34. But it was really shocked me, because I thought, well, he's come to me as part of this group. He has come to me and said, I need help on this, because he doesn't know where to go, but he wants to change something. Because it's really hard to understand this stuff, and we go through it. It's hard enough for us, but really from their side, it's very sort of like, where do they go? And there aren't the resources for them, and there aren't those open conversations happening on their side. We are very open. I think now we're very open, because we've realised we can be, but on their side especially, men don't have these conversations. They're not talking about those sorts of things, are they, when they're golfing and going drinking? They're not, because it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. And that's one thing that I do think that we are better at, is that we are better being vulnerable together, but we're not very confident when we're the other side of things. We lack confidence, but vulnerability wise, when we sit together, we are very good at being vulnerable together, because we know the impact it has on each other. To be like, you're not the only person in the room going through this. We're all struggling. We talked earlier, didn't we? Nobody's got anything together. Everybody's just sort of dealing with life, and it's important. So yeah, I think, unless there's anything else anybody wants to talk about, shall we wrap up? Yeah?
Wrap up.
Fabulous. Okay. So if anybody wants any more information on the Women in Telecom side, you can get in touch. We'll put some information below. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and look forward to the next podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye.